Call this meeting to order at 5:30. Council at Large Boots.
Here.
At Large Spear.
Here.
Council Ward number 1 Leeper.
Here.
Ward number 2 Anderson.
Here.
Ward number 3 McNeil. All right.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so now to the agenda. Are there any additions to this agenda? Seeing that there is none, is there a motion to approve this agenda?
I'll make that motion.
Boots with the first,
I'll second.
and Spear with the second.
Anderson?
Yes.
Spear?
Yes.
Leeper?
Yes.
McNeil?
Yes.
Booth?
Yes.
All right, so the agenda has been approved. Moving on to the communications portion. This will be the unscheduled, so if anybody would like to make their way to the, her first, she stood up back there first. Come on up and give your name and address.
It's Deb Schweitzer Neumann, and I'm at 1118 Lynn Street, Tipton. And I would just like to stick up for and say that I really am for Lisa to be the chief of police. She was there when Scott had his stroke, and I called 911. She was the first one at my house, and she helped me through going crazy over the time and going through all his bills and trying to get everything set as to what's going on. I have police chiefs, police drive by my house constantly. I mean, they're always patrolling. I haven't heard of the crime rate going up. And I can see you're saying that maybe someone has better qualifications, but that doesn't really mean anything. I've worked in a factory for 25 years, and you can bring somebody in that might have better qualifications, but if they don't know the people of the town or don't know the job that well, you know, it's not that important. Mm-hmm. And I've also worked in West Branch, and I don't remember if you remember Dan Knight, Bookham Dano. Now, is that what we want here? I don't think so. I think what we have is just fine. And so I am all in favor of keeping Lisa. You know, I think she got the job as an intern because she was the qualified one to have it, and so I think she should keep it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for your report. Ms. Swan?
Can I stay here?
Yes, definitely.
I'll talk loud. Mary Swan, 1110 Plum Street. First, I want to thank Councilman Leeper for bringing some really important information to our attention with his letter to the editor. And I want to summarize what was in that letter quickly. I believe on Tuesday, September 20th, there was a morning meeting with the police committee, and 3 applications and resumes were presented, with 2 that were decided to go ahead and have an interview. One apparently was tossed out. My first question is, who is on the committee? And I'm directing the questions to Mr. Long.
Myself, Mr. Long, Mr. Leeper, Mr. Anderson.
Say again.
Myself, Mr. Long, Mr. Leeper, and Mr. Anderson.
Okay. Mr. Long is on the committee.
I am not a voting member of any committee. I am a person who assists the committee in administrative action and decision making, and when my opinion is asked, I share it, but that's my role. That's the end of it.
And Brian, you are on the committee, is that correct?
Yes.
As mayor, you're on the committee?
Yes.
Okay, I wanted to clarify that. Then he went on that in the next day or 2 days, he received a call from Tim Long, even though it was clearly stated that the top candidate couldn't start until January 1st. Apparently no one but Councilman Leeper saw that. I don't know how that could be. And Councilman Leeper was told that the candidate would not be interviewed, as we could not wait until January 1st. If there's something here that I'm stating amiss, please correct me. So, my second question then is, who decided that?
Well, it also depends on how you look at top candidate. I don't think anybody ever said the words top candidate.
Well qualified. Who decided then, a day or
What?
two later,
Which part?
that the person would not be interviewed?
The personnel committee.
If I may, actually, no one decided that the other candidate would not be interviewed, and it was a discovery that I made when I called the other candidate and said, "Are you interested in interviewing?" He said, "Well, yes, but understand that in my application, I state I'm not available until January 1. I said, "Oh, well, thank you for letting us know. I appreciate that. I'll have to review that with the committee and see if they have some feeling about that." And indeed, I did communicate individually with committee members, called them up, or emailed them, or both, and left it with the committee members, including Mr. Leeper, that if the committee wished to interview this person, they were more than welcome to, and I would certainly make that arrangement, but I needed to hear from the whole committee, since I had individually heard from committee members who said, "Boy, that seems like a long time." And I said, well, in that case, then the committee members really need to tell me what it is they want to do, because I've got a split. So that was where it was left until I saw the letter in the paper.
Okay, perhaps I'm misinformed, but that is not what Ross's letter said. His letter said that he received a call stating that this person would not be interviewed. And so that's the information that we had there. Let me go back here.
The man will interview before January 1, but he won't start till January 1. Is that it?
Mrs. Swan has the floor, I think.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Wait a minute.
Okay.
I guess that's my next point, is that I cannot fathom why we can't wait until January 1st. We've waited over 9 months already. So that part of it to me was deeply disturbing and really didn't make any sense. It makes the process, I think, in most people's eyes appear to be a farce. I also have learned that there was another excellent candidate who grew up here, and a while back sent some resumes to Councilman Leeper because he knew him, and asked him to pass them out. Then I understand that this person's mother walked into Councilman Anderson's business a while back, and he told her that her son need not send an application, that they were going to hire Lisa. Again, it has farce written all over it, I think, to most people. I talked to a law enforcement person out of the immediate area, and he said it certainly has a smell, and I would agree. I'm told now that you will be meeting again tomorrow, October 4th, is that correct?
As far as I know.
Okay. I want to make just one brief comment. I'm hoping that you will double the amount that you've been giving senior dining. We cannot lose senior dining. It's a very, very important asset to Tipton. It would be a shame to lose it. I would like to see it go to 10,000. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Sure thing.
My name is Margie Griffin, 801 Money. Most of my questions I haven't really answered. My experience has, I've only lived here 6 months, less than that. We moved in our home April 1st. Slept there on weekends in March. And in April, I called Lisa and had a phone conversation. I asked for 2 things. Will you send a police car up and down my street once a week. Will you enforce the speed limit on my street? She replied, absolutely not, that's not going to happen. She gave me 4 reasons. Because they didn't have enough help, manpower was the word she used. They have bigger and better things to do. We don't own a radar gun because I invited her to sit in my driveway with a radar gun. And gosh, now I can't remember. But anyway, so that was it. Now, if she'd have said, I'll talk to my crew, we'll see what we can do, that would have been good enough for me. Or, you know, it gives the impression that they care. But the categorical no, that's not going to happen, didn't sit well with me at all. I pay taxes, right? Anyway, so I had no police coverage for 4 or 5 months. I had a thing, here's another thing, anywhere I live, if a woman calls up and says, I want a police presence in my neighborhood, that would be considered a clue. And an interested person would say, is something going on? She never did. Never asked why I was asking. Disinterest, you know. So, as you know, I'm not crazy about that. So, my problem I had continued and continued. I didn't really feel good about Tipton Police after that conversation. Then an event happened on my property where a person trespassed on my property, stole my stuff, took it home, threw it in the trash. I witnessed this, okay? I called my husband and said, we're going to have trouble, you know. I wasn't going out there because this person is aggressive and stronger than me. So, you know, I said, well, go over nice and stay on the sidewalk and ask for it back. He did. They flew off of their porch. There were 3 of them, 1 of him. He's 59 years old. It disintegrated from verbal to physical. So I dialed up 911, even though I really didn't want to, and a police officer came. So after back and forth, first the man said, I don't have it. Then he said, well, it was on my side. Okay. Eventually, he produced the stolen property after lying to the police officer. So I thought, well, there you have it. But the police officer told us we had no business calling the police. They're busy. And this is not a reason to be calling the police. So I would like you to give me a list of the appropriate reasons and inappropriate reasons to ever call Tipton Police. Apparently, trespassing, stolen property, assault is not a reason to call the police. Meanwhile, the 911 dispatchers tell me, don't bring your gun outside. You know, but, so we're kind of done. We're never calling the Tipton Police. I can't think of a reason why I would call them. Now, we place our trust in our own wits, our security, you know, systems. Our new insurance company told us to put in place Smith & Wesson and ammunition, and a good attorney. Now, I do know you've hired 2 police officers since then, so things will get better, I'm sure. And I've met one of them, and I like him. He's nice. I have not met the other. I learned that he's still in school, correct? So how much time has it been since the time you hired that young man, and he gets out of school and he's actually going to come to work? That's a question I have.
That's the State Police Academy, that's like a
He's done,
16
it'll be
week,
done in November, isn't that correct?
November
So
4th.
we can wait months for him, but we can't wait till January 1st to give a fair, but now if you've already made your minds up, you really should not be interviewing people and wasting their time. You know, that ain't right either. And I can live with Lisa, but I'd like to see her sent over to Marion for 2 weeks of intensive mentoring. And then I'd be okay with all that. And I'm sure she knows that.
All right.
That's about all the rest of the questions I had answered.
Well, thank you. There's anybody else?
I'd like to say I had $1,600 in property damage between the time I was told no and the time I actually got something done. And 2 assaults and 1 death threat.
Sorry about that. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Betty Emmerich, and I'm here on behalf of Senior Dining again, and I live at 409 East Street in Tipton. I just wanted everybody to know that anybody can come and eat. Now, it's helpful to call ahead. The other day, when 2 police persons came, everybody wondered why they were there, and they came to eat, but they had not called in. And so Karen and everybody else thought they were coming on business and kept wondering why they didn't say anything. So just please call in. Anybody can come there. The only thing is, if you are not 60 years old, you do need to pay $5 instead of $3 or all the lesser amounts, or 4 or more. And I think that senior dining we're not trying to be competitive with all of the restaurants that we have in town. However, our numbers are down. And so maybe people could sneak in, well, no, call in and come once a week or once a month and join us for a meal. It would help our count. It gives people a reason to get up, the elderly in particular, comb their hair, get dressed, and come, and some of them come a whole hour early. And sometimes the coffee pot is drained before we all get there, because they've been drinking coffee and visiting with each other, and that's such an important thing for people who live alone. We have almost as many widowers as we do, well, men as well as women that come. And I'm going to pick on one person. He used to run the gamble store. And when his wife died, he said he was crying when my sister-in-law, Mary Jean Emmerich, and I went through the line. And he said, I don't even know how to run the dishwasher. I don't know how to turn on the microwave, because his wife always just did everything for him. And the kids always called, they always had really neat, what do I want to call them? Maybe nicknames for everybody. And Mean Mary Jean was hers. I won't really tell you mine. Well, I could tell you. Some of them called me Sweaty Betty and the others called me Betty Boobs. But anyway, but they had a nickname for everybody in school, you know. But Mean Mary Jean went up to him and she said, now, any idiot can pour cereal into a bowl and pour a little milk on it and have breakfast. And then you go down to senior dining. Now, and by gosh, he did. And then she said, you can warm up a bowl of soup or something at night. Well, pretty soon he was helping down at senior dining, and he was volunteering to do things, and pretty soon he was counting the money. And if I went up, and I'm just going to do this to the mayor, and sometimes I can't pick back up. If I went up and got down on my knee and said, would you please come and play bridge? And if I just begged him, he'd come and join the bridge group, and if somebody didn't show up. And so I just, I don't want to see senior dining not happen. I'm also going to advertise our ice cream social. That's one of the 3 things we do. It's going to be on Saturday, October 15th, and I did bring tickets, and I'll hang around in case anybody wants to. It's October 15th from 5 to 7. We have Sloppy Joe sandwiches, cheesy potatoes and baked beans, homemade pie or cake, and Dave's Custard is going to show up and put vanilla ice cream on your pie or cake and donate it. We have lemonade, iced tea, or coffee. It's $7 for adults or any donation you want to make. And I have tickets. All the board members have tickets. You can buy one at the door. And we have a raffle. That's one of the other things. One lady makes a quilt every year for us to raffle at the pancake breakfast. And now we have an Iowa Afghan. It's just beautiful. And so I didn't happen to bring chances for that. I forgot to pick any up. But I would like to ask for a vote tonight so I know whether I need to go to West Branch. Well, we're going to West Branch anyway. So I know how the council feels about giving money to a nonprofit. I know that there's some thoughts that that's not kosher. Bennett, Stanwood, and Mechanicsville do give us money. And hopefully West Branch when we get there. I don't imagine we're going to ask Durant because they come and they only do it once a week. And they come and pick up the meals themselves. So we're not paying mileage to take them there. Thank you very much, and if you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer.
Thank you.
Thanks, Betty. Thanks.
All right. Anyone else? All right. Seeing if there is none, we'll move on to the consent agenda, which is passing all of these with one motion unless we need to discuss them, which is the city council minutes from the 19th of September, the airport minutes from the 14th of September, the cemetery minutes from the 12th of September, library minutes from August 29th, and then 3 liquor license renewals at the Tipton Country Club, Kansas City, and Dollar General. Any of those need to be pulled out?
Mayor, I just want to say Pam pointed out to me in the minutes from our last meeting, she has a second in here, but she wasn't present, so
All right.
as long as that gets changed.
That's good.
All right. So with that change, is there an approval of this consent, a motion to approve this consent agenda?
I'd make that motion.
Foods with the first,
Second.
and Anderson with the second.
Spear,
Yes.
Lieber,
Yes.
McNeil,
Yes.
Boots,
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
All right, so those have all passed. Now we go down to I, which is the resolutions for approval. And the first resolution is the residency requirement, and it had been tabled at the last meeting. So I need a motion to pull this off the table.
So moved.
Spear with the first, and McNeil with the second.
Lieber,
Yes.
McNeil,
Yes.
Booth,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Spear.
Yes.
All right, so that has been pulled off of the table, and so now it's open for discussion. Mr. Long?
Thank you, Mayor. From the feedback from last meeting and other, this returns to the 20-mile radius that had been discussed prior and changes the language to reflect the language in the current bargaining unit contract by stating, instead of emergency standby personnel, it says an employee required to be on standby of the city of Tipton, and that's described within the contract. And then in the second sentence it says emergency standby personnel has been struck and replaced with municipal employees required to be on standby. Are those employees and police are struck since they're not required to be on standby, they're required to be on duty. And then added emergency medical service, gas, water, sanitary, sewer, electric, public works, normally assigned weekend and weeknight and weekend standby status for emergency response to all situations. The remainder of this stands as it was originally stated, and again, we moved this to the 20-mile radius that you all had clarified last meeting.
Mayor, I'd just like a clarification
Yes.
too, since police aren't included in that, does that mean that we have the right to ask that the police chief reside in Tipton? Is that an option then? Since they're
When
not
with
included in
department
this?
heads, it is an option. Same with city manager. Anybody you opt to require, you can expect them to reside as part of their employment understanding.
Any other questions or discussions on that? All right, is there a motion to approve or not approve this resolution?
Motion to approve.
McNeil with the first, and was it Leeper?
Second.
Leeper with the second.
Lever,
Yes.
McNeil, Booth,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Spear.
Yes.
All right, so that resolution has been approved. Now to the second one for tonight, the city street financial report approval. Mr. Long?
I've deferred to.
Amy, her name's on there.
All right.
You can defer to her.
It's just an annual report we have to file with the Ohio Department of Transportation. It's due on September 30th, and then it's approved by resolution by the council. We received approval from the state of Department of Transportation, so they have received it and said it was okay.
All right, are there any questions on this?
Was this supposed to be approved by the council?
Yes, yeah.
When was this done?
When was it done?
Yeah.
Last week.
You have to get it to the state first.
It has to be filed to the state by September 30th,
Yeah.
and then the council approves it by resolution. They approved it on Friday, the 30th, the state did, so now the council needs to approve it.
Well, aren't we allowed to see the whole 8 pages?
You have it there, Leah, on the table.
It says 1 of 2. 1 of 8 and 2 of 8.
Amy, did you copy it?
I just have
The report, you didn't give them the report. Okay, I apologize, I thought you had it. No, I meant the whole report. We will email it to you.
Okay.
So, is there anything you want to do with this then?
I don't want to do anything with it because I don't have the whole report.
Well, that's an option. You
That's,
can
I'll
move to
table it until we get the whole report.
Okay. So is that a motion you want to move to table it?
Yes.
All right. Mr. Lieber has made the motion to table this until we get the remaining 6 pages.
It breaks that up by, lists our debt, and there's listing.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't the council supposed to approve this before it's sent to the state?
We've never done
No.
it that way, Ross.
No.
It's
Okay.
always been sent to the state, and they approve it, then the council approves it. Because if they don't like it, we can't bring it to you as a resolution.
I got it. Okay.
I would second the table motion.
Still want to see what that's like.
And Boots with the second to table.
McNeil,
Yes.
Boots,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Spear,
Yes.
Weaver.
Yes?
All right, so that has been tabled until the next meeting. Down to the motions for approval, the claims list. Is there anything that you guys want to pull out from the claims list? Is there a motion then to approve the claims list?
Second?
Anderson with the first and Spear with the second.
Boots,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Spear,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes?
McNeil.
Yes.
All right, then, to the next one, the discussion and consideration of the senior dining donation request. It was tabled last meeting, so I need a motion to take it off the table.
So moved.
Spear with the first and McNeil with the second.
Anderson,
Yes.
Spear,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes?
McNeil,
Yes.
Boots.
Yes.
All right, so that has been taken off the table. Is there any discussion?
I would like to say, you do a great job of presenting. And as you know, I support senior dining 100%. I had a conversation with you because I didn't want to bring this up without you knowing ahead of time, but I've thought about it a lot, and I think that I have an issue with city tax money going to nonprofit organizations. I don't know that that's a position we want to do, because there are a lot of nonprofits out there that could certainly use help. In my perspective, I feel like I'm taking taxpayers' dollars, individual people's money, that they should choose where it's going and then get the tax deduction. And so I don't know that I want to get in the business of supporting nonprofits. I'm not going to rule it out entirely, but
I've been contacted for nonprofits. They kind of feel like they ought to get a little now too.
right. And I did offer Betty. I get requests in the mail all the time, as you do probably.
Oh, yes.
And I choose and I write checks for where I can and how I can. And I would be more than willing to work with you at the senior center to get a letter drafted, to do some labels for it, whatever it would take to help you maybe use that avenue to recruit on an individual basis. I'm sorry.
And I thank you, and we did discuss this over the phone, and I just, I guess, I would still like to request a decision from the group as to whether they agree with that or agree with my request. Then I'll know what to do.
Absolutely.
May I ask you a question?
Yes.
Have you in the past each year given money to senior dining? I was under the impression that you had.
I personally
Once.
Not
Yeah.
annually.
Yeah. You had a refrigerator, a freezer, or something, got a huge purchase that you needed to make, and you had no elsewhere to turn, and we did.
But you do get money from the county, right?
Yes. And we get the supervisors, in fact, increased our money by $1,000 this year.
I did look at your report also, and the amount of money that is having to be used for travel. And I know, we live in Tipton, and but I absolutely would support us paying any of the mileage. I mean, that's a cost that probably should be incurred by the communities that you're delivering to.
Right. We do offer $5 for people that deliver in town, or a meal. Some of them, I don't really know, because that goes through Karen.
Right.
So I don't know whether anybody takes the mileage. Some people always eat, some people never eat. And so, as far as mileage for Tipton, I don't know that answer, and Karen didn't come with me tonight. She had a previous engagement.
Right.
Okay.
But it does mount up when people go to Clarence and Loudon and Wheatland and go to Springdale and West Branch and places in between.
Yeah, West Branch and Mickville are over $5,000.
Yeah, yeah. And so those people, when Karen and our treasurer and I went to talk, they didn't have a clue that Heritage didn't support any of that. Heritage, I believe they are going to support, for I don't know what reason, but our steam table, we have found one. And so we're waiting now for them to, but it sounds like they are going to buy the steam table. We finally found one in good condition and that fits underneath, and that we didn't want to have to remodel the whole thing in order to get a different one. And I think Heritage is going to do that for us. But
Right.
and since my term, that's the first thing that they've done of that kind.
All right. Is there any other discussion?
One question.
Yes.
Is there such a thing here in the county or even in the city that's like a food pantry where people can come and get food?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
But what is,
Where do they get their food from?
well, we buy it from a distributor and pay for it. And
That's what
we
I'm
figure
saying.
that,
Where they get where does a food pantry get their food? I know before,
we sometimes get, like, one time we got a whole lot of potatoes that were given, you know. And the food pantry had so many potatoes that they took them to all the churches and let people take them. But that's not a usual thing. Unfortunately, yeah. But the upkeep of the building, the wages for everybody are up to us, and donations. We have 3 things we do a year. It doesn't make hundreds of dollars. I think our best year was $7,000.
I'm kind of probably on the lines of Pam. I don't want to get in the habit of donating yearly to
Yeah.
nonprofits. No, I would like to put it out to the council. In the letter, I see that it cost them $2,500 to repair sidewalks so that they weren't dangerous for the people. Could we consider maybe giving half the cost of the sidewalk repair or something like that as a one-time, just to alleviate some of their expenses they've incurred? I just want to throw it out there.
Good. Couldn't, Mr. Wong? Yeah. Is there any discussion along that idea?
no, the reason I asked the question is because I've seen grocery store chains that have so much food that they can't put it out even in their stores and get rid of it at a time.
We
So they
have,
donated it to a food pantry. And the people in the community could come to the food pantry and get food. It's the same way that whether they were seniors or they were mothers by themselves and had kids that they were, you know.
I can't explain it like Karen would, but we deliver food under an elderly waiver that comes that way.
Okay.
And she would be the one to ask that question, but we take it, if it's on our route, we deliver bags of food. I don't happen to have anybody that gets one when I go to Bennett. And so I'm not aware of whether that comes weekly or monthly, but I know that my daughter got that when she was so ill, and even though she had a different plan because she was 59 when she died, but she hadn't been able to earn any money for years. And so she was on a number of programs or it would have broken me.
Okay, so we have two different things up. We have the suggestion from Councilperson Boots about forgiving or reimbursing for half of a sidewalk improvement or the $5,000 donation. Is there any discussion on which way to go on that?
I like Boots' idea.
Okay, so Mr. McNeil kind of likes that. Is there more of a sense to get behind that, to relieve a little bit of some pressure by reimbursing for some money towards their sidewalk improvements? Does anybody want to make a formal motion on that? So Mr. McNeil has made a motion to forgive or donate about $1,200 to help with the sidewalk.
Did you propose half of that?
Yes. Yeah. After that should be about $1,250.
Oh, I thought that. Oh, okay. Gotcha.
To help with senior dining in their facility. Is there a
What you would really be doing would be helping to pay for the railings.
Mhm.
I used to teach kids, in PE, but those railings, kids get up on them and then they whirl around and come up and stand.
You guys
Well,
are
they
doing
weren't
that, right?
built that way, the way the ones that I used when I used to teach that. And so the railings get really wobbly.
Mhm.
And kids like to come down there, and there's lots of railings, they can all have a turn,
Mhm.
And so Myron is going to fix those so that they will be more sturdy.
Okay.
And I know that, I think Mrs. Eves said the first time she came down, when you park up at the alley, then you are coming down.
Mhm.
And she said, she always just automatically, and when the new sidewalk was poured, there weren't any railings there. And so I hope that Myron gets them done
Mhm.
before we have the first frost.
Mhm. Okay.
Yeah.
So we had a first. Did we have a second?
I'll second.
And Boots with the second.
Anderson,
Yes.
Spear,
Yes.
Leeper,
Yes.
McNeil,
Yes.
Boots.
Yes.
All right. So we'll have
Thank you
that.
very much.
Sure thing. Thank you, Betty. Then to number 4, which is a change order in the amount. Oh, sorry, I skipped over one. Number 3, which is a one-time water and sewer bill waiver for Betty Anderson on 612 East 5th Street, which the information was included in your packet. Any discussion on that? Is there a motion? Mr. Anderson with the first,
I'll second.
and Spear with the second.
Spear,
Yes.
Leeper,
Yes.
McNeil,
Yes.
Boots,
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Alright, so that is carried. Now to number 4, which is the change order in the amount of $3,200 for the Caterpillar genset number 7 for emergency temperature sensor. Any questions for Floyd? I'm assuming it's something we need.
Yeah.
Okay. McNeil with the first,
Second.
and Leeper with the second.
Leeper,
Yes.
McNeil,
Yes.
Boots,
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Spear,
Yes.
Okay, and to number 5, which is setting a public hearing for October 17th for the budget amendments, while acknowledging unanticipated expenditures for the fiscal year of 16-17. Is there a motion to set that hearing, or do you need to say that?
I don't.
Okay.
Interesting questions.
I'll make that motion.
Spear with the first and McNeil with the second.
McNeil,
Yes.
Boots,
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Spear,
Yes.
Leeper,
Yes.
Alright, so that hearing has been set for October 17th. The next one, which is a drip reimbursement at Penny's Hair and Nail Studio on 4th Street. Linda Beck?
Well, the commission voted to pay this through the DRIP program to Penny. Myself and the city manager went, and the windows were installed. And Penny does have plans for upstairs at some point to apartments. So I am recommending that the $1,199.98 be reimbursed to Penny. Or reimbursed,
Be reimbursed. Alright, is there any other questions for her? Is there a motion?
So, I'll second.
Anderson with the first and Spear with the second.
Boots,
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Spear,
Yes.
Leeper,
Yes.
McNeil,
Yes.
Alright, and then the next one, which is drip reimbursement at the Total Look Salon
yes.
for $7,329.
And that was 2 different projects that she had done. The first was the front door and windows, and then the second was the flooring. And so I combined those 2 together. Both were approved by the commission and by you, and now we're just going to get her the money, and it's $7,329. And it looks very nice.
So yeah, just to make sure that these are the ones that we approved earlier this
Correct.
year. And
Yes,
this is
it
the
comes to you
completed
first, and then when it is complete, and bills have been paid, and there's proof of that, and myself and the city manager go to make sure everything is installed and looks like they said it would, then I come before you again.
Alright. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Spear with the first
Second.
and McNeil with the second.
Anderson.
Yes.
Spear,
Yes.
Leeper,
Yes.
McNeil,
Yes.
Boots,
Yes.
Alright, so that has been approved. And now to the 3rd annual Trunk or Treat Halloween event. Ms.
Yes.
Beck.
So that is scheduled for October 30th. It's going to be this year at the city park. The first thing I'm requesting is to have part of that street barricaded, because we have a lot of activities going on, and I want to make sure that it's safe for the children out there. I've already talked to Adam to make sure there wasn't a swim meet or soccer or football or something big going on up there, and there is not. And so I'm requesting that we barricade the street in front of the aquatic center, because we're having a pumpkin contest and a cupcake walk and a bouncy house and all kinds of activities for the children.
So you're talking just at the top of the hill?
Yes, just
Okay.
at the top of the hill. So, and I'll make it so we don't have a car coming up the hill. You know, I want them to be aware that
Mhm.
the street is blocked.
Alright, any questions? Is there a motion to approve this? Neil with the first
Second.
and Anderson with the second.
Spear,
Yes.
Leeper,
Yes.
McNeil,
Yes.
Boots,
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
And then since this is a city event, I just want to make sure that if we have some city employees that would like to decorate a city vehicle, that they are given permission to do so. And because it's a city event, I will need additional hands on deck. It's busy. And if any council members would like to volunteer, I would love that as well. Just let me know.
Okay. Thank you. Oh, and then you're still here, though.
I'm here for a while.
Placing the community Christmas tree and lighting ceremony.
One last thing with trunk or treat,
sorry.
a lot of questions. This was number 4. They want to make sure that Halloween is still designated for the 31st. I'm assuming that is the case, but of course that is something that the council has to act upon.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
And now to the community Christmas tree and lighting ceremony.
So last year we started our first annual lighting of the community Christmas tree, which we have the mayor or a designee. I am requesting this year, I'd like to put something in the paper to find a tree that we can cut down, that we can make a big deal about it in our community. And I have talked to Steve Nash, and if we do find a tree, he said he would cut it down for us. I've also talked to Floyd, the electrical department, about getting the tree upright and decorated. So I just want permission to try to find a tree in our community and haul it in and make a very big deal about it. I know that Wilton does this, and it is a really neat community event. And I just think that it's really important to do that. So I'm requesting that. And then the lighting of the community Christmas tree actually is also on Small Business Saturday, which is November 26th, that we would do this in the evening again. And that for that evening, I would have the street, 4th Street from Cedar to Lynn barricaded. So we wouldn't have any, I set up last year in the street. We had refreshments and volunteers and bell ringers, and I just want to make sure that everybody's safe.
So would you want the cutting down of the tree and bringing that in, that's all on the same date?
It probably would not be the same day.
Okay. Okay.
I don't think I'd have enough time.
All right. Is there any other questions?
Yeah.
I can see that
I
you have a
have
question.
Yeah, I do. I just bought a tree for my yard, and he's supposed to plant it this month in October. And he said he had to come here and plant a new tree over there on that lot, where up the street. And he said that they planted one last year, but it died.
It did.
So he has to replace it.
Well,
Is that the one?
that would direct to Steve, because
Is that
I
the
was
one?
not in charge of that.
I mean, is that the one?
But that was a little tree, and
Yeah, they were waiting for it to grow.
yeah.
I mean,
And I won't be around to
No.
do any of the decorating by the time it gets grown up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, and so this tree is going to be a cut tree, not
Yes.
one that's
and as it
growing.
was last year. But last year we went to Kelly Tree Farm,
Yeah, that's what
and
I
we
bought.
cut it down and we paid for it.
Mhm.
This year, I'm hoping that we can have a tree donated to us that we bring into town, big deal for kids, families, and then also the night of the lighting of the community Christmas tree. We had children last year bring in ornaments, and the ornaments were basically, we had made, they were pine cones that we put Carol syrup, because we don't want anybody that's allergic to peanut butter to have any part of that. And then we sprinkled bird seed on it, so it would be a natural treat for our birds for the winter. And we're looking at that again, although I have had some family members asking me about a memory Christmas tree where they could bring an ornament in memory of a family member that had passed. And I says that is something I will also consider, because I think that's very important. I would not ever guarantee that they'd get their ornament back. You know, it could break, but if they would like to do that, I think that's a great thing too.
Okay.
Linda, how big a tree were you anticipating? I never asked that.
I would like, last year, I think it was about 8 foot or 9.
Well, you was talking 75 foot this year.
Oh, I said 175. A 15 footer would be great. Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, I can't remember what it was last year, but Floyd was instrumental in helping with that last year. And it really looked very nice.
Okay. So is there a motion to approve this?
So,
Boots with the first,
Second.
and Leeper with the second?
Leeper,
Yes.
McNeil,
Yes.
Boots,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Spear,
yes.
All right, so that one carries. And now to Sox collection drop box.
I bombarded you. Yes, as you know, I am really trying very hard to partner with the school. I think it is very important for our community to go hand in hand with our school. And one thing Jill Hesse, who is the student counselor, asked is they want to do Socktober. And it's collecting socks. They have decided what's going to happen to the socks is they're going to go to a shelter, a homeless shelter. This is really important for the students in the school. I think it teaches many, many lessons. And I was certainly on board with that. I think that we can do a lot of things to help those folks that need assistance. And therefore, I told Jill that I would come before the council. I am requesting that we have a drop box at City Hall because it's open from 7:30 to 4:30, Monday through Friday. Where my office, I'm in and out a lot. I think most of you know that. We would collect the socks, and then I would give the socks to Jill so she could give them to the students because there is a project with this about them putting their names on the socks. And then I would also ask if it would be possible for our council and mayor to bring a pair of socks. I would like to have a photo taken in the paper to show our support to the school, all of you. You see everybody like, what? Holding a pair of socks.
I know.
And it's just about being good partners in our community and showing the kids that we also want to partner with them. And so I would designate a time that we'd have those socks and photo, and I'm sure Stu would be on board with that too. I think this is a great project, and so I'm asking that you allow me to continue with this.
Sounds great. Is there a motion? Leeper with the first and Anderson with the second?
McNeil, Boots,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Spear,
Yes.
Leeper.
Yes.
Okay,
Thank
as long as
you.
you don't have any questions with my report, I'm done.
Thank you, Ms. Beck. Okay, now to number 11, the one-time water and sewer bill waiver from Lacey Jones at 609 Mulberry Street. Is there any questions or?
I have a comment.
All right.
I don't know when this program started, but I'd like to see it gone.
The one
For
time?
exceptions. I think if you're a homeowner or a owner of rental properties, you should just maintain your property.
Okay.
Paying the money out because you're maintaining your home.
All right. Thank you for that. Is there any other questions or comments?
Well, I could fill in a little bit of why it was originally started. I was on the council then, and there was some elderly people that had leaky toilets and such that ran up exorbitant bills, and they were quite unable to pay, and so this is one way of helping them out.
And correct me if I'm wrong, it's just one time per.
Yeah.
Well, can't we change it to where maybe they just make payments that they can afford?
You know, I look at
Instead
the
of-
first one that we voted on here, and it was an 88-year-old lady on fixed income, and it came up to $500. I think that's pretty substantial probably for her.
But that's when family comes in. You know, my mom's alone, but I make sure her house is in order every year.
Mm-hmm. All right.
And to the comment, we do a payment plan for folks that get behind, or if someone's toilet leaks the second time, there's no forgiveness. And there are communities that address this, there are communities that do not. And this is sort of an in-between step to having to just always say no, or telling someone always saying yes. it's one answer in the scope of several. And I do hear what you're saying about folks who wind up in a bind versus us trying to be responsible to the remainder of the members of our co-op to make sure our water system isn't leaking. And I use co-op in a general term, and that you all are in this together to minimize water loss and maintain the system. But
And I think the office staff does a great job on noticing and calling people immediately.
And many times, that's the only way they know they have a leak.
Right, until they get that bill.
so
All right, is there a motion on this then? Either which way.
I'll make the motion to approve.
Boots with the first to approve,
I'll second.
and Spear with the second.
Boots,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Spear,
Yes.
Leeper,
Yes.
McNeil.
Yes.
Okay, now the approval of the Actera engine progressive billing. I'm not, right? Yeah, number 12, yep. Does anyone have any questions on that?
do we have that on the agenda?
I don't see it.
It's at the
It's not
end of the
right.
packet, it got
At the end
out.
of
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So these are the ones that were, went to a closed email account by accident.
Yes.
That had been emailed, and that comes to that 46,917 and 69 cents. Do we know if that email address has been shut down?
What I was told by an IT person was that it doesn't get bounced back. It just kind of doesn't go anywhere, which I don't understand that, but that's what she told me, because I asked her, because it would have been John's old email address.
Was it the city email address, John, or Floyd, or his personal one?
It was
He used both.
jpack at Tipton, Iowa.org.
Those should come to you as an alias, that's how we set that up.
They didn't,
Okay, then I'm not sure what happened.
so
Either which way, this is a bill.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Is there a motion on this bill then? Boots with the first, and McNeil with the second.
Leeper,
Yes.
McNeil,
Yes.
Boots,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Spear.
yes.
All right, so that has been passed. Now to the reports to be received and filed, which is the first one is the traffic enforcement report. Chief Kipford.
This comes at a great time because it's been in the paper about traffic and that the people don't feel like Tipton police are doing any traffic. So every year we do the STEP program, which is the Special Traffic Enforcement Program. I believe you have the statistics in your packets. This is run through the Governor's Traffic Safety Bureau. They make it possible for us to have extra patrol through grants. I'm required to fill out forms, request monies to help cover the wages and if there's any equipment costs that are needed. So with the STEP program, and you've seen it on the news, they have different commercials for it. We also posted it on our Facebook page when there's a wave coming up. There are 5 waves or sessions, and the department has extra patrol during these times. They coincide with Thanksgiving, St. Patrick's Day, Memorial Weekend, 4th of July, and Labor Day weekend. So, the stats that you have, I don't want you to miss any of the important stuff because my guys do a really good job. For our 5 waves that we've had, the Governor's Traffic Bureau does it November through September. So this is going back from last Thanksgiving to the current Labor Day weekend. We've had, for those days, 2 OWIs, which are operating while intoxicated, 14 seat belt, 1 child seat, 76 speeding tickets, 5 improper passing, 14 registration, 14 stop signs, 20 other, so that could be a variety of things in the other, 3 tinted windows, 33 equipment violations, 5 driving without a license, 29 no insurance, 1 open container, 22 motorist assists, 6 accidents, there was 1 arrest warrant based on our traffic stop, and 3 felony arrests. And that's just in Tipton. That's not the county. So those are just our special traffic enforcement that we do every year. You also have a sheet of statistics that comes from it's our CAP. It's our records management system that is out at the county. The county dispatchers are the ones who call us out. So this doesn't even count anybody that just walks in if it doesn't get put into the computer. So we have a lot more going on. But I just wanted to go over what my guys do, what all of us do when we are on duty. This is only from January 1st to I believe September 25th, I think, when I made this report. 41 different accidents, and our animal calls and our dog calls were separated. So we have 83 animal calls. If you've been around, you know that involves horses, cows, skunks, possums, bats, snakes, cats. If people have a call and they don't know what to do, they call the police. Come take care of this. So we deal with a lot of animals. We've had 74 assists where we have been called to assist another agency. That's what we do. We also call other agencies to assist us if we have a fight or if we have something where you need more than one officer. 100 business checks were documented through dispatch, but our officers also have the ability to do a change of status in the car. Each car has a computer. So the change of status, they do themselves. It doesn't go on our business checks. I've had many, many business owners talk to us or call us and say, hey, I got a little card in my door. What's that for? Well, in the middle of the night, the police officers go and do business checks, check doors, make sure they're locked. We have had to call businesses when their doors were unlocked. Did you know your door was unlocked? We check the building. We make sure that it's secure, that nobody's in there. It's something we do in the middle of the night, and the business owners are very appreciative. We've had 16 assists with the fire department. They don't like it when we show up and put out the fire for them. That's like a car fire. They put out. They would rather we let them put it out. So we're all okay. Something I want to point out, we've had 29 domestic calls. Domestic calls are the deadliest calls for law enforcement. Those are the calls where they are most likely to get shot, killed, injured in the line of duty. For us, 29 in a 9-month period is a lot. So I just want to point that out. It's not I wish that number was smaller. 13 fights, school, bar, downtown. It's quite a few fights. We respond to as many medical calls as we can, and so far we've been to 235 medicals. We have an AED in our vehicles. We can hook them up and we can do CPR. We are all CPR certified. We maintain that certification. When we go through the academy, we also go through a first responder medical class. It's part of law enforcement. You're the first on the scene. You need to help people out. OWIs, there's 8 of them for the first 9 months. These are 8 people who were taken off the road before they killed themselves or killed someone else. They're part of a traffic stop, but they're not listed as a traffic stop. They're listed as an OWI. These people have been taken off the road before they killed one of my family members or one of your family members. So my guys have been doing a great job with that. Suspicious activity, 46 of them. We have no idea what we're going to. Somebody calls in, there's a suspicious person, car, activity. That's a scary thought for anybody, but when you get sent out in the middle of the night, think about that. We had 37 traffic issues. Traffic control, traffic, dispatch just has 3 different ways they documented it. 37 traffic issues. Just in the first 9 months, we have had 406 traffic stops. 406. So for a department that's not doing any traffic stops, that's a heck of a lot of traffic stops. This is only for Tipton, but I did glance at the county, and the county covers a very large portion. And they have just as many things that they need to do also. I think their number was 700 and some. So with twice as many officers, we are still doing per person more traffic stops in our town. So I'm very confident that our officers are handling our traffic very well. And just one more. We do unlocks. We do car unlocks for anybody who calls. It's free. It's a very nice service for our community, and people are very appreciative of it. Just to respond to Ms. Griffin about her, me saying no, I did not say no. In fact, I sent an email out to all my officers, and I said we need increased patrol, and it went on Lemon Street because even one of my officers explained to me that they let you know. Mr. Person said that he let you know that I sent an email out to every officer that we need to do increased patrol. So I am handling the traffic. I am handling the speeding. Our officers do a phenomenal job. A little thing that it's my turn.
Gonna happen.
You know what, Margie?
Ma'am,
This is my floor. So, if you ever want to know all the specifics of the stepways, I have these in my office, but there's a lot of stuff that I didn't think you guys would want. So, Tipton is very fortunate, excuse me, to have excellent officers on the department. There are 6 full-time officers, which includes the chief, 3 part-time certified officers, and 3 certified reserves. Tipton has 24-hour coverage, 365 days a year. The Tipton Police Department has a vast amount of knowledge and skills in its officers. We have a firearms instructor, a canine handler and canine, an investigator, a physical fitness instructor, a couple of firefighters, a DOT officer, current and past military service officers, school resource officer, drug interdiction officer, and everyone has at least 4 years' experience in law enforcement. Even our newest officer was a reserve for 4 years before going into the academy. So when he gets on the street, he will have some on-the-job training, but he is already very skilled in Tipton. Our officers are well-trained and genuinely care about the people we serve. Our officers work nights, weekends, holidays, birthdays, anniversaries, and have even canceled vacation due to working on a case. We deal with death, fights, medical emergencies, drunk people lying to us and calling us names, people trying to get out of tickets, trying to hurt other people, and many, many civil issues that we have no ability to fix because it's civil, not criminal. It seems that the public feels they know how to do our job better than us, yet none of these people have ever been an officer. Each certified officer has to start their career by first passing some tests. The physical portion consists of a 1.5-mile run, sit-ups and push-ups, and sit and reach for flexibility. They are all timed, and the run has to be completed in approximately 12 minutes. 38 sit-ups need to be completed in 1 minute. 29 push-ups need to be completed in 1 minute, and for flexibility, it's based on gender. Then the officer takes a police officer selection test. There are 4 sections: math, problem solving, grammar, spelling, punctuation, and report writing. The officer has to score 70% or better in all sections. Once the officer has passed these tests, they can be considered for hire at a police department or sheriff's department. Once a person is hired, they are required to go through the Iowa Law Enforcement Academy, which is a 14 or 15-week paramilitary program to train the officer in a multitude of disciplines, which include criminal law, search and seizure, use of force, firearms, defensive driving, defensive tactics, physical training, domestic calls, OWI, fingerprinting, dealing with the mentally ill, and the list goes on and on. In this day and age, every move we make is videotaped by someone. We wear body cams for our safety and yours. There is not another profession I can think of that this happens. We are required to make split-second decisions while everyone else in the public can second-guess us and have all the time they want to decide what they would do. If you have never been an officer, then you need to think twice before spouting off about the job we do. My officers are some of the hardest working people I know, and they would have my back in any situation. There are a few people who have been bad-mouthing me and complaining about me, and I understand that is part of the job to deal with, and that I just turn the other cheek. But when people start bad-mouthing my officers and my department, I will stand up for them and defend them. There isn't another job in Tipton where you go to work and there's always the possibility of not making it home alive because someone shot you. My officers put their lives on the line every day, never knowing who or what they will deal with. They are honest and caring people who do an outstanding job. They deserve praise, not constant criticism. If anyone has a problem with my department or how we do our job, you need to come speak to me, and I will give you any stat I can find, and I will pull up reports, and I will do anything that you need. I will pull up body cameras, car videos, because everything is videotaped. But enough is enough. So, thank you.
All right, well, thank you. Moving. The next one is the water and sewer, the monthly oral report, Mr. Brennan.
Nothing major to report to you guys for the month of September. The water plant did produce about 9.1 million gallon. It's about 303,000 gallon a day average. This was down about 500,000 gallons from August. We did have a conference call meeting with the Iowa DNR. The DNR called for this meeting on the 29th of September. The meeting was moderated by James Opel, who has been named as our project manager for the wastewater compliance that we have to do in the upcoming projects. So this was kind of just another link in the chain as for compliance. No major decisions or anything, but it was more of a establishing resources and establishing links to each other with emails and numbers and stuff like that. Jim seemed like he had a good grasp of our town and the situation we're in and what kind of treatment we have. And he did say that compliance-wise, our lagoons have done well, other than the newly required things that are coming up for ammonia, phosphate removal, and of course disinfection. So those are, he acknowledged that those are going to be our weaknesses. And that's about it. Any questions for him?
No.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bob.
And library director. Zoom packets. The mock OSHA inspection from the electrical department. And the utilities board system review.
Oh, forget something. Okay, Margaret Mead from the Iowa Association of Municipal Utilities came and did the walkthrough inspection for the mock OSHA inspection. Margaret was pretty thorough. She found some things that do need some attention, like none of our emergency lighting worked, which I didn't know that. And so I think we got all that fixed, but we have some places where we need to put exit signs and emergency lighting up because we have none. The new power plant, about the only thing she said over there that she didn't like was the batteries, the area for the batteries. There's no cleanup kit per se. As far as the rest of that building goes, she didn't really find a lot wrong. Well, she did say about the garage door, which is gone now, but she said that on all of our garage doors, they're required to have sensors to either get them, when you walk in front of them, those eyes, or they have to have an edge on them that if they hit something, they automatically reverse. So with that being said, the gas and electric shop, we will have to do something with that at a later date. One of the things she found was one of the harnesses we had, it was out of date, which speaking of that, we've probably got some others that are probably out of date too. There's a drop cord in the power plant that's wrapped around a beam up above. And we're going to have some electrical wiring done there, so I'm kind of holding off on that. I did order a retractable reel for now, but as far as the electrical wiring goes, we're just going to have to leave the light on the south end of that. Yeah, on the south end of that bay. so that the truck is fully charged every night and stuff like that. So for now, that's what I'm gonna do with that. She pointed out the eye wash station, although she didn't write us up on it, is really in a bad place. You come down the steps, and it's just right there to your left as you're walking towards the south in the old power plant. And it really, when I looked at it when I got here, I'm just kind of like, well, that's kind of in an out of the way place. But she didn't write us up on it, but she did state that we need to check it every month, run the water for 5 minutes on each item, and that. She did write us up on the steps, the west set of steps, because that last step to go into the power plant as you're walking up is like an extra probably 3 to 4 inches taller than the rest of the steps. So that was something that she pointed out that needs to be fixed. We've got all the stuff, the lumber, everything, waiting for some rainy days and stuff like that to do things like that. The old power plant, she did get us up on general housekeeping, which we just haven't had time. I don't have the staff to take care of the place, and but this month, for the next month, we're going to try to get over there and work on that when we can and get that cleaned up. We're just short of help. Then again, the welding machine. She didn't like the fact that it was not case grounded. That'll be easy enough to fix. The parts washer wasn't marked, and then the oxyacetylene tank didn't have backflow preventers in them to keep the gas from mixing and causing an explosion. There was a drop cord that she didn't like. There was one outlet we had problems with, and that when we just wire netted it so it would keep feeding, and we just never did anything else with it. So the one overhead hoist, the chain, we think it came from the factory this way. It was put on backwards, and what it does is when you run that chain up and down, it starts wearing on the welds of the links. So we have to take that apart and fix that. And Tanya and I talked about that, and we're going to try to do that this week. One of the harder ones to do is down in the old basement, the guards for the compressors and the electric motors that run the compressors. The arc flash study is going to take care of a lot of these panels that are not marked, and that'll take care of stuff at the water treatment plant, that'll take care of stuff at the sewage treatment plant, and plus all of the electric department facilities. So all those there will be marked, and that will be taken care of. They have started work on that. Another thing, the beams weren't marked. Just little things like that. And then the oil tanks and stuff like that down in the basement and the pipes, she would like to see them marked. Whichever place, well, Indianola went on that, and they did. They marked every pipe, it showed the flow of direction, and it said oil, natural gas, whatever, and it showed the flow of direction. More stuff. Talked about the engine that we're in the process of taking apart right now to part it out. Respirators and stuff like that. They were laying on the table, and that's not where they're supposed to be. Exit routes again. Things that she did like was that when she opened up the bucket truck, she seen that the linemen had Miller step relief, so that if they do fall out of the bucket, which that should never happen, I hope, they have this step that they can stand on, and they don't have to stand, or they're not just hanging by that. And it provides a lot of relief for them for that in case that happens. Bench grinder, she wrote us up on the old bench grinder that doesn't have a good shield on it, and the abrasive wheel. She didn't like our use of an old range hood for exhausting the welding gases, but there really isn't anything that says we have to change that. So, on that part of it, it's basically information. Like I say, we're trying to do as much of the stuff that we can, and the stuff that's gonna be kind of expensive to do, I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna probably go out for bids on some of that stuff.
All right.
So,
And then you're next with the utility board system.
now, the IUB inspection, the pictures that were there are not really good. This is up on North Street. And it kind of gives you an idea of what some of the system's like up there. He wrote us up on those, and originally I had talked to ESCO about putting in the system underground and finishing that project up, but there's just too many unknowns up there. There's some things that were done that I don't like. The pipe is all bored in, but there's some things that we have to change. John and I have been discussing this quite a bit. We've been discussing it since I got here. We've got to do something different up there. There's one place, there was a plan to put a great big sectionalizing cabinet there. I mean, I'm talking, what is that, John? Probably 8 foot by 8 foot? Yeah. And it was gonna go in somebody's backyard. And I can't do that because their yard isn't that big as it is. So we talked about moving that. My response is, I think if you've read all that, you know what we did. The employees went out and fixed everything, did a good job getting that all fixed. Right now with that North Street project, I think what we're going to do is we're just gonna go up there and just put some poles up for now and do that. Because I don't have a good cost estimate of what it's going to do to put it in underground, because of some of the changes we want to make. But I know that talking to them, they figure it's going to cost $1.5 million to farm it out, and I just don't see us doing that. We can do it in probably steps. You know, there wasn't a lot in that report other than just the normal stuff. You know, we took care of that.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you much.
Thanks, Floyd.
And then to the recycling center cost increase. Mr. Nash.
Yeah, we're still talking about this and thinking about it, but not much has changed since we talked last time. We haven't been able to get anything back from waste management. The gentleman that we typically work with was on vacation last week. And I don't think, Tim, has he contacted us today at all?
Not today.
So, basically, just by way of review, we're in a situation where the market for recycling material has dropped off considerably, and it's not worth that much, and so the processing of it costs about as much, well, costs more than what it's worth. So, you've all got my memo, and how do you want to proceed? Let me just throw a couple things out. And I've talked to a number of people around town, and of course, my guys, we talk about it at length. What direction to go, and what are the consequences of if we do this or if we don't do that? If we continue doing what we do, it's going to cost us to stay afloat. It's going to cost us $10,000 to $12,000 additional to the garbage recycling budget. If we spread that out over all of our residents, that's $5.50, $6 a month. If we don't do that, and we decide to do some other type of recycling or get rid of recycling, which I'm not recommending that at all, if there was a choice to do recycling or not do recycling, a lot of people would just say, hey, I don't want to pay $6 for recycling. I'm just going to put it in the garbage. That increases our garbage. That increases our cost at the transfer station. So that's a consequence of that move. And I personally feel like that's not the right thing to do. I think recycling is the right thing to do. for a lot of good reasons. But I've heard that from people, I'm not gonna pay that, I'm just not gonna do that. Well, if we go down that path with recycling, charging for recycling, we have to, I believe we have to do it together. As a community, everybody is involved. I'm saying that, and then I'm gonna say this. There are a number of people out there right now that don't have recycling containers. If we're charging them for recycling containers, they're gonna want a recycling container. They're $50 a piece, and that could be a couple hundred more recycling containers, and you can do the math on that. So it's not an easy, there's no easy solution here. Waste management might be able to come in, and we could maybe farm it out to them, and they might come in and say, okay, we'll do the whole thing for X number of dollars, but I can't imagine them coming in and doing it any cheaper than we can do it. Their market for the material isn't any better than ours. So that's not really much of a comforting thought that, you know, they could take over. If they would come in and take over the recycling, that's the first step in the door. That's the next step is they're gonna want the garbage too, and you know, we went through that thing about a year ago, a little over a year and a half ago maybe. So I'm not sure if that's a direction we want to discuss on a very high level. The other thing with Scott County, I don't know if you all understood how I put that back in the memo with our situation to Scott County. I think I did. I think I mentioned this last time we met, but they charge us $80 to dump it, and they give us some kickback based on what they got for it, and basically it turned in about apples to apples is what we were going to end up going to Cedar Rapids with. The other thing I'm going to say is I'm glad it's not my decision. So, I think we need to consider. I think the community needs to know that we've talked about all the options and that we're at the mercy of the markets, and the markets aren't there to support what we're doing. The other thing I want to, one more thing before I forget it. One way I think we can reduce our costs is in the last paragraph on the memo. I do think that it's necessary, and Davenport does this, Scott County does this. We pick up recycling instead of every week the whole town. Let's split the town in half like we do garbage, and do the south half one week and do the north half the next week. Several reasons. A lot less miles on the truck, a lot less arm action, and that's what is, that arm, that's a maintenance item, big time. Roger's dumping recycling containers that have about this much in the bottom of them. We'd like to dump 4 recycling containers while we're out there. We'll save on overtime. Roger gets overtime on those Tuesdays because he typically puts in 8.5 hours or 9 doing the whole city. So I think that's and like I said last time, I feel bad that I didn't think about doing this until just recently. This is something maybe we should have implemented 3 or 4 years ago when we went to the hero system. Any thoughts, questions, anything you want me to pursue
So if we
further?
go to the every other week on the recycle, how does that affect the $5 to $6 a month for the cost? Will it be less, or are we still?
Doesn't make any. That doesn't affect it at all. That just reduces our maintenance and our costs. That streamlines us a little bit to be more efficient. It really, our costs for dumping up there are going to be the same. We'll still haul up a full load probably every week. Only there'll be half as many containers, but they'll be fairly full containers. And Roger last week he only dumped 3.5 ton. Typically, though, I think his average is between 4 and 4.5 ton on a weekly basis. So, and I fully expect that per ton cost to gradually get to $65 a ton and stay there in all likelihood. And we've got till the 10th of October to enter into that contract. They did move that back for us at our request. So 10 whole days. Yeah. So anyway, that's where that's at. Right now, though, this next month, this month we're probably only at $42.61 a ton. But I see it continue to. It has for the last 8 months gone up. Anything else I can shed light on?
In your memo, did I read it right that the Scott County actually would be a little more expensive than the current fee we're paying? We would just opting into getting some kind of rebate from that.
That's right. I mean, what happens down there, and this is even what their guys, because Tim and I had a nice discussion with the guy that runs all the recycling and garbage for the Scott County, and he says, yeah, they charge me the same thing. They charge us $80 a ton to dump it there too. That's a separate entity, so to speak. Scott County, what's the name of it?
Recycling, and the city of Davenport and the city of Beckdorf both have their own individual solid waste operations.
So,
or its customer.
Yeah, so we'd be just an additional customer. We drop it off at $80 a ton, and
Maybe
if they found out it was worth $110 a ton, there's a $30 profit there. They'd split that $30 with us. They'd give us $15 back. Well, that gets right back down to $65 a ton.
Right.
So it's a different way to get to $65 a ton.
Yeah, well, but you're not assured it either.
So
You're not assured that.
well, that's right. It's not locked in.
Right. Have you put a pencil to what it would cost us, how much we're going to lose if we go to an alternate every other week?
Basically, what we would save, what we would save is hard to put a number to that, because it would be wear and tear on the truck. It would be a little bit of time for Roger on a weekly basis.
Less fuel.
Other than that, fuel, travel miles, travel around town. I'm going to say, I wish I should have checked. Clay could tell me probably how many miles we put on that truck on a Monday on a garbage day, and on a Friday on a garbage day, and then on a Tuesday where he does the whole town. It's clearly the same, or nearly the same, when you have Monday and Friday against Tuesday. It's about the same. But so we cut some time, and we cut some fuel.
Cost.
I wouldn't. It's hard to say. If it was a couple $1,000s, I would hope it would be that, but I don't know that.
You also mentioned at the last meeting that time-wise, it takes less time to go to Quad Cities than it does to Cedar Rapids.
Based on my navigation on my phone, about 4 minutes, 9 minutes, maybe something like that.
That's each day.
It's once a week.
Okay.
That's a one trip a week.
But that's 52 times in a year.
Yeah. And the other thing, the nice thing about going, if I was driving, that's interstate.
You got, yeah.
But like Pam just said, well, there's no guarantees down going that direction, but there is a guarantee. We've got a cap going to Cedar Rapids at $65 a ton. Going down there, we hope the market is $110, so we get $15 back, and offsets the $80 that we have to pay up front. So that still gets us back to 65.
More or less.
It's a little bit of a deal, but it's
flip a coin.
It is.
Yeah, it's.
We obviously need to do a job of getting some more finite answers to you, so that we can give you information to make decisions on.
Right now, Ross. Right now, I think because we never dealt with Scott County, and we know that we're paying $80 up front, and we have no idea where how much, if any at all, we're getting back. I would be more inclined, if I was a business person doing this on my nickel, I'd lock it in for 2 years at Cedar Rapids at 65 cap. Because we know it's not going to go over that, and we know what we can project, and we can budget based on that.
Right.
Go in that direction, I don't know. It could be several $1,000s difference, and we don't know.
Sure.
I can make that
Steve,
decision.
didn't you say with the Republic that is residential only? So
Well,
what's gonna
that's,
happen with the
yeah, thanks
residential?
for bringing that up, man. That is in that contract, and I don't know, I haven't asked them about, the fact that we do the courthouse and law enforcement. I suspect that we're okay with that, because we're not doing commercial where there could be some product in there that is not acceptable. I think that's where they're going with that. But, because, you know, it's all paper, and they like the paper. It's the other stuff that they don't necessarily want, and that's what you've got, and that's what, well, we got cans and paper at the other places, food stuff. So. Anything else? This has been a long meeting tonight. I know. I don't want to stretch it out any further than we need to.
All right.
Anybody bring up
Nope.
the consideration of containers somewhere?
Well, hey, yeah, that's the other thing that we could do, and I'm gonna check on this a little further to see if Republic or anybody, and Tim and I talked about this earlier today, if anybody has stationary containers that they would like to bring to town to set in town, and maybe down at the overflow parking. The only downside possibly there, it would be unmonitored and not sure what kind of other things we might find ourselves dealing with. We would do that, have to do a security camera, you're right. But that's another way to deal with some of the recycling anyway. And somebody might do that just to get the material, and if it costs us a lot, it's probably not going to be feasible. But if they would set them there just for what they get out of it, that might be okay too. So, anyway.
All right.
Am I done?
Yeah, I think so. Thank you, Mr. Nash. We gotta wait for the next meeting to sign this for that contract.
We'll arm wrestle on this, not to worry about it.
Yeah. All right, so, but we do need to have a motion to receive those. Oh yeah, and the development director report, which I think we're all good with. All right, is there a motion then to receive said reports? Boots with the first. Second. And McNeil with the second.
Anderson?
Yes.
Spear?
Yes.
Leeper?
Yes.
McNeil?
Yes.
Boots?
Yes.
All right, thank you, Mr. McNeil. All right, and now we have a representative to discuss a possible American Legion building refurbishment. Thank you for staying.
No problem. I am Sarah Coleman. I'm with Martin Gardner Architecture. We actually have two offices. I'm out of the Marion office. We have another office in Strawberry Point. Last week, my principal architect, Dave Martin, myself, had a chance to meet with Mayor Carney, Linda Beck, and Tim Long. We were really here to talk about what we could possibly do with the Legion building, which is at 217 East 5th Street. One of the ideas that we were looking at is redeveloping that space for economic development offices, what else the building could possibly be repurposed for. We've done several of these types of projects. So what we suggested and what we put together for and sent to Tim was a feasibility study for $5,800. What we would be doing with that is we would be field verifying the existing building. We'd be developing a couple of different floor plan options on what could happen with the space, and then we'd be developing a more detailed opinion of cost of what those options could cost to do those renovations. So that was really the main purpose of the meeting. While we were all together, we also started talking about CDBG grants, or community development block grants, and how those funds could be applied to refurbishing Main Street. Marion itself has been designated a Main Street community. In fact, we interviewed today a couple of the other guys in the office at Gallery, the city of Gallery, which is up by Fort Dodge. They're looking at doing a facades renovations project. So Tim and Mayor and Linda kind of had some questions on how those types of facilities work. Facades renovations, the grant, you can get up to $1 million grant that pays up to 50% of the facade improvements. 25% of that bill is paid for by the business owner, and then 25% is paid for by the city. In those cases, and I know there's some stuff in your packet on what we've done in some of the other communities. We've worked in West Union, Elkader. Marion is just in the process of doing punch list operations. And like I said, we interviewed for a potential project in Gallery. Some couple of quick things that I wanted to point out about those facade programs. All the work has to be done to the State Historic Preservation or the SHPO office and Secretary of Interior guidelines, so just be aware of that. And any persons working on the projects are paid at David's Bacon wages, so that does kind of change doing those kind of improvements versus the business owner just going out and soliciting for those improvements. But they only pay for 25% versus the full 100%. So, and then because of the 25% being footed by the city then does have a lease technically of the first 1 foot of the front facade for 7 years. So I didn't know if you guys had questions about what was in the packet, what we kind of talked about at that meeting last week. Basically, I know it's not something you need to vote on, but it was, I'm here so that I could answer questions.
What was your impression of the building?
Really, what I did is after the meeting, because the cornerstone says 1925, the Cedar County Assessor's Office says 1900. I'd say for the age of the building, particularly looking at things like the conditions of the windows and things like that, it's in pretty good shape. There is some surface mold in the basement, but that's mainly because the building's been shut up with no HVAC of any kind running. You know, one of the hardest things you can do to a building is not be in it and using it. So it's going to continue to fall into disrepair unless you decide there's something you need to use it for. And if it's a building that the city owns and we've got office space that's needed, it's kind of a ideal fit to try and repurpose it for city use. I know you didn't need to vote on anything, so.
No other questions? All right.
All right.
Thank you for staying.
Thank you for
Hey, no
saying
problem, you're welcome.
All right. And then now we're down to the reports, which I do not have anything to report this week. Council reports. Committee, city manager?
I've been working with the school district on 28E agreement for the football field, walk and parking lot engineering work. That will come to you next meeting. The SRF State Revolving Fund application went out today. That's for the preliminary engineering work for the wastewater plant improvements. Been reviewing TIF practices with a couple of specific economic development projects. We've started direct work on approaching a couple of derelict building issues in town, so we're working on some code enforcement work there. Obviously, the discussion on the review of building rehab costs, and then we're slated for meeting 4-ish tomorrow afternoon on the personnel committee on the chief selection process. That's all I have there.
All right. And department heads?
I got 3 quick things.
All right.
Definitely. Because if these weren't really important, I wouldn't be here. But library project, the sidewalk project started, and lucky guys have got the light bases in, and they're going to trench the lines in tomorrow, I think. And we tore the old sidewalk out today. The guys did a nice job. We had about 3 hours in that project so far today, and that's all gone. Probably going to do it in 3 different pieces because it takes a little extra care when you're building up a sidewalk like that. Yeah, I'm not gonna expand on that too much more, but, well, I can say one more thing. This sidewalk's gonna be up about 9 inches initially, because the gutter out there at the street and the back side of where it's parked, the gutter is higher than the parking. So we've got to elevate that so we get positive flow to the street. That means we're going to have to landscape, of course, behind the sidewalk. It'll be nice when it's done, but we do have to elevate that so we can get some flow away from the sidewalk to the street. It's going to end up being about 6 inches high, and it's going to be the curbs then as well. We're going to put angle parking in there just for your review, just to review that thing. And it's going to be a little wider than we initially thought, because when the cars come in there to park on the angle, they're going to have their bumpers over the sidewalk. We want to be able to take our skid steer down that sidewalk for snow removal in the wintertime. And it's going to be so much better than it was. I've been kind of disgusted with that whole situation for a long time, even before I came to work here. But anyway, that's going to be nice. It's going to be a nice improvement. The leaf bag situation, we initially were going to start today. There's not enough leaves on the ground. We're not starting until next Monday, providing leaves start to fall. It's been an unusual year where it was wet in August. Leaves are hanging on a little longer. So we might not, we're planning Monday. If not Monday, it'll be the following Monday. We will maintain the schedule that's printed though. We're not starting in, we were going to start zone 1 today. Next week, if we start next week, it'll be in zone 2. So as not to confuse anybody as we go through the fall. So we'll maintain that schedule. The third thing, I did pick up some trees last week, half price at Pleasant Valley. They're going out of business in Iowa City, and they had about 10 that I thought we could use, and hopefully I can get those in the ground. Well, I'll get them in the ground this week. But I'm still looking for about another 20 trees, so we'll get 25 or 30 trees back in the ground. Questions on anything?
No.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Nash. Now, is there a motion to adjourn?
I've got some stuff, Brian.
Oh, okay. Sorry, Floyd. I looked over there and forgot you were sitting over here.
One of the things that's happened in the last couple of months is Josh McAdoo is now a journeyman lineman. That's quite an accomplishment for him. Josh is about 23, 4 years old, John?
Yeah, something like that.
And it's a big deal. It is a very big deal. This is a very dangerous job. A lot of these people are overlooked. My crews, when there's a storm, they are a first responder. And sometimes we don't get that recognition that we are first responders, but we are. We're the one who's going to clear the line out of the way. We're the ones that are going to take care of making sure that the fire and the police are safe to do the things that they have to do at an accident site if there's power lines involved. If you ever get a chance to see the movie called Stormtroopers, it is about linemen. It's one of the most dangerous jobs in the United States, according to the Department of Labor. I don't know if any of you know, but John here is actually one of the hero linemen. He saved a fellow lineman's life. Climbed a pole, rescued him, and I don't know if any of you know that. But John is the one who's mentored Josh, has taught Josh. In the 2.5 years that I've been here, Josh has done a very good job under John's leadership, and I'm proud of both of them.
Yeah.
I've got 2 very good employees there.
Yeah.
And my entire staff is very good employees. With that being said, the couple things that I want to move on to real quickly is the service rules. Now, there's been some questions in dealing with a couple of things that have come up in town. The service rules do state that customer contribution may be required for an extension or some other work. I've started to do that this year. I feel it's prudent that we do that. Every utility I've been at has done that. Most utilities around us do that. Some people are gonna say, well, that's gonna hinder economic development. I don't think so. What it boils down to is some of these projects, we've got one project in mind right now, and we've probably got 150,000 close to it in labor, materials, everything else. And I've seen maybe $30 payback in it so far. So $30, 100,000, you know, one transformer, some of them are $8,000 to $15,000. So if you're asked, I've decided to implement that. I think it's the best thing for the utility. It's fair to our other paying customers. We're not subsidizing some other business to do some other things. The only probably exemptions to that I would ever do is it doesn't make any sense to charge the school or the county for work because everybody's paying taxes to them too. When I was at Indianola, which was a much bigger utility, we never charged the county or the school district anything like that. So we all work together hand in hand. The engine's coming along good. I keep hoping, I keep telling you, well, I'm thinking we're going to get that thing running, but there's been a few hiccups with Actera and with the shakeup with the employee leaving and some other things and stuff like that. And then I think this payment deal kind of got them gun shy a little bit, but we're working through that. And then one of the last things is I've been doing the reports with the EIA. We've got the engine registered, and it'll be on the reporting for this coming year. Engine number 4, the one that we've retired, said that I could cut up and scrap. We're going to go ahead and cut it up and scrap it. There's just no interest in it. So, and with that being said, the one thing I said I wasn't going to do this, but I'm going to do it anyway, is that all of us here in these departments, Steve, myself, Lisa, the fire chief, we all have to work together. And working with Lisa has been very good. She's not real uptight, she's easy to get along with, she does have a sense of humor. And sometimes when things happen, you have to have that. And I do enjoy my time that I spend with her, what little bit that is, but her department has been doing a lot more things. As a citizen, I see things going on that I didn't see before. Traffic stop. I was coming to work the other morning at 5 o'clock in the morning, and at 4:45, one of the officers has somebody pulled over on Highway 38. They're always there at the ball games. They're there on 7th Street watching traffic after the ball games are out. I mean, I personally, I can't speak for the other department heads, but I think Lisa is the one to hire, and I think she's an awesome employee for the city, and she's a good advocate for the city. And I enjoy her presence.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Floyd.
Thank you.
Motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Lieber with the first,
Second.
and Anderson with the second.
Spear.
Yep.
Lieber.
Yes.
Boots.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
All right.